and Jonesy know what it's all about. From burnouts and doubts to boundaries that stick, we're right here with you through thick and thick. Do what you want because you're grown. You don't need to hustle all on your own. With that voice in your ear when it all goes whack, take a deep breath, we got your back.
So we're going to start another riveting episode of Minding Our Business. I'm going to let Dan introduce our guest because you know more about the guest than I do.
That's correct. I'm Jonesy. Apparently, I'm Dan for some reason.
Oh,
we don't really call me Dan much. That's fine. I don't care.
To me, you're Dan. Sorry.
Is that right? I guess so. Okay. Well, we got Crystalrae States here, who started out as a client of my marketing agency. One of the OG clients, actually, when I shifted from freelancing to agency life, through Boilermakers baseball and softball. And then became a friend and then became a collaborator, and God only knows what is going to happen in the next year with all these recent developments. Just a straight up, can I say badass bitch? Like, am I allowed to say it? Yeah.
Sure,
It's like,
thank you.
cool. I have bitch friends. I can use that word.
Yeah.
Straight up badass bitch, just as a person and an entrepreneur, and getting paid to do what you like and love. To an extent, right? There's always stuff we got to do that isn't amazing, but you are the undisputed expert in youth sports management.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of people that do know the space, so I am one of them. But yes, someone that knows it intimately and has come to be.
Oh,
we froze.
you stroked out.
Did we freeze? Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, and you're back.
Here I am. Sorry, go ahead. What else? What else?
So we're back to the beginning. So whatever you just said, we didn't get any of it.
Okay. All right. So yes, I am one of the people that is an expert in youth sports. I began as a phys ed teacher, and so I've always had a passion for movement and people finding something that they love to do, and definitely for their health. And that propelled like my interest into the youth sports sector side of it. And so I've been in that for a long time. I really enjoy how communities come together through sport and how we can find joy in the game for everybody.
So someone like me who's saying, Dan's saying, oh, she's in the youth sports sector. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because there's so much that goes into this. And when we talk about youth sports sector, we can be talking about the community level, right? So that's the grassroots stuff that we probably grew up playing. And we think about the nostalgia of the 90s and the booming ecosystem of youth sports. So it's by our zip code or town. We're repping that on the front of our jersey. We're playing people within that league. And travel didn't necessarily exist as much. And we've shifted into that. So you have like your community, then you have your travel, which is kids that want more out of their experience. So they're doing more training, probably a higher cost for them, and specializing in said sports. It goes across every facet of sports. And then you have things like NILs and recruiting and all of that also fall under now the youth sports umbrella. You have private equity, you have events and experiences. So the games or the tournaments or the kind of stay away things that people are coming up with for the kids to play. And so there's many facets and there's tons more in the youth sports sector. But, my kind of side of it is the youth programming side, what kids will do, kind of the service-based part of it. So coaches, how we run programs, curriculum, and the implementation of that within those systems.
So is it you guys have a facility in a space, and then is it your own like teams, or are you guys having community teams come in and like train with you?
We froze.
Oh
again.
Gosh, you froze again.
Yeah, it must be.
Is it me? It's probably me.
It might be the weather. It's raining. Oh, it's like a crappy day here in Yardley.
It's a crappy day everywhere. So for my side of things, I own Boilermakers Softball. So we are in the travel side of the youth sports sector. Mm-hmm. So we attract players that are looking for more than, that grassroots experience that I just talked about. And so we currently have teams from 12U through 18U. So we take them from kind of their beginning journey of softball through the end, and hopefully some of them will go on and play collegiately. And so for us, we focus on the team business. So teams within youth sports are a business. And so what we focus on is development, quality coaching, female focused training. And that's the name of our game. So we want to attract players that want to be part of that. What I'm not currently in right now is the facility space. So we rent space from other facilities. So I would say I'm in the team business right now, but hopefully soon I'll be dipping my toes into the facility business. In my professional career with EL1 Sports, I was a facility operator. So I did operate facilities within that space. So scheduling all the trainers, filling the building, coming up with programs that would fit this seasonality of the year and all those things. Yeah.
So you had recently made the shift from EL1 Sports into running Boilermakers as its own entity. Why? Let's get into the why.
Yeah. So I think something to clarify on that is that I've always owned Boilermakers from the beginning. So, and it's always been mine, but the way that I thought about Boilermakers has changed over time. So when I first began it was really like, hey, how can we give girls a different experience? How can we change the narrative of what we see in other teams? So a lot of the coaching was, I say this like old fat men screaming at girls on buckets, right? And so it was this idea of like, you're looking at this and you're like, gosh, like we can do better. And so it was bred out of the idea of making an experience that's about female athletes and giving them what they need. And really, I had no other thoughts other than like, let's try to give them a more positive like softball experience, right? And so it started with one team. And then I realized early on that people really gravitated towards that ideology and wanted that for their kids and wanted a different lane and wanted people that cared about their kids and not just about winning and the development and all the stuff, right? And so it sort of organically grew. And then I realized, oh, wait a second, like, I guess I have a business on my hands. So really for me, it was like the stumble in because I wanted to solve a problem. I had no intentions of really, again, other than solving that immediate need in my head. People gravitated towards that concept and idea. And then I realized, wait a second. So it got to the point where when it was growing, it was unmanageable because I didn't have great back-end systems. I didn't understand certain things. And I was like, whoa, like if I'm going to be able to do this, I really have to understand how this all works and what the nuts and bolts are. So I really started to understand like cash flow and P&Ls and seasonality and all the things that go into the business and your taxes and, how that can be. And as I started to understand that more, I was like, okay, like I get this. And also this could be a business, right? Like a viable business. And so I started to build it that way and think of it that way. And what I found is that when I paired good systems with what we already did on the service side, everything was much better. So the parent experience became better because in order to pay, they didn't have to like write a check or like, all these things. Like they could pay online, they could have payment plans, all the things, right? We could offer them a variety of options to give them more access, right? And then schedules and all that stuff. Like I can sync it to my calendar now, which these seem like little things, but these are like really big things for families and things like that. And then, fields and logistics and everything that we're doing, right? Game changer, all the things. So we were just able to mainstream a lot of these things because we started thinking that way. And ultimately it's made it a better product, right? For my families, but also for me and my ability to grow and hopefully scale and continue creating quality things for my kids and my program.
And what's nuts is for no other reason than you're caring about it is why that's going to be successful. Because that's an absolute masterclass in like value-based marketing, in positioning and in delivery. Because, and especially anymore, is any jackass can buy some tool or system to automate a thing. But if the thing that's being automated has no value or appeal, then it's worthless. And I see it all the time. And some business owners get it. Some I try to explain to, and I know my patience has gotten very short, unfortunately, recently. But literally reinvesting into the end product and service, into the client's point of view. So like it's multi-layered in MySpace, myspace.com, MySpace. I work with businesses, so I am a business to business. But I pretty much tell most of my clients, I said, the end of the day, your opinion doesn't matter. What you want doesn't matter. The market doesn't care about your feelings. Your clients are actually more of my boss and stakeholders than you are. Therefore, I'm always going to position myself as a consumer and wanting just better marketing in the world to refocus everything on how can we make the experience better. And yeah, you do need systems and data to back up and implement and scale and make it not automated, but have it systemic. Otherwise, you're kind of just a monetized hobbyist. But that should always be the question: is how do we make something 10% better or different or specifically focused to my niche? And pitifully few people are really thinking that way because all the jackasses on YouTube say, oh, well, if you just make 10,000 cold calls and emails, then no, why does your product or service deserve clients? And yours does, and you've proven it, which is why it's successful, why it'll grow, and why the soon-to-be facility is going to be an absolute success.
I like the idea that you were like an accidental entrepreneur. It's just something that you loved, and then you were able to. I always think I'm just jealous of some of these people that like just take something they love and they're like, oh, I can make money off doing this. Is your like background, like, were you a softball player growing up then? Like a pretty competitive one?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I want to go back to something that Dan said. And I think this is important, is that like business is not always linear. So when you start somewhere and, you think it's A to B, it's really not. And I think something I've learned over this time to even get to here, and we're going to go through it again, is it's really a roller coaster. And if you're able to adapt and ride out some of these things that like aren't always so pleasant about entrepreneurship, I think that's a big key. I think part of taking a passion, like you said, I had a hobby. I thought it was a good idea. It could have been a terrible idea, but it just happened to work out for me. I got lucky. There's a little bit of luck, I think, to this too. And then, pairing that with like, okay, hey, like if I want to really do this, I have to get better at these types of things, right? So these are the things that I have to learn and I have to get better at. So like growing yourself to understand and grow a business, right? But then, you're forward, you're backward, forward, backward. And then, when you get to the end of it, can it be a business? Yes, but be realistic about that. Like, does that mean I'm going to get, like you said, like 10,000, like all this stuff? Like maybe not. Like maybe it means I'm an inch each year. Maybe it means it just stays for right now. The next 3 years, I really need to hold the line here and stabilize. Like, so I think where people sometimes in entrepreneurship get like really jazzed up, to your point, and kind of that FOMO of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start at 0 and be at 10,000 in 3 months. And then I'm just going to exponentially grow and grow and grow. And it's not always that way. Like entrepreneurship is very unpleasant sometimes on its best days. So like you have to really be able to dig in and again, continue to learn, continue to adapt to the market needs, what it's telling you, know what your pillars are, right? And your absolutes are. And you always want to bleed the ethos of who you are. That's really, really important too. But also like look and see, right? Because if we don't adapt and change, we become dinosaurs in the market, and then everybody passes you by, right? And we sit there and go like, I don't know what happened. And it's like, well, like I do, and we do see that a lot in youth sports. People aren't willing to see those changes and adapt. And it's like, oh, sorry, guy, like you didn't figure that part out. But so my background, I was a multi-sport athlete growing up. I played softball, basketball, and volleyball. And anytime I could be outside playing or whatever, I always loved sports. I didn't particularly enjoy school, but I knew that I could go to play sports and like, that was fine. So, coming out of high school, I was recruited to play both softball and volleyball. I picked softball. And I played at Spring Arbor University in Michigan, NAIA school out there. I'm a local person, so I grew up in Pennsylvania, went to Penner's High School, but I chose to go out there because physical education degrees weren't big out here and didn't align with some of the schools I was looking at. So I went out there, got my degree in physical education. So I thought I was going to be a career teacher. I'm going to teach my whole life, like got it. And then, I was teaching. My husband was a college basketball coach at the time. So we're like traveling all over and doing all this stuff. And so teaching, they kind of want you to be there for more than like 1 or 2 years. So I'm like almost unhireable at this point because I'm like 2 years stint, like, sorry, I got to go. My husband, like, whatever, they're like, okay. So that's also when I decided to go back to school to get my degree in sport management, because I started to really think about the business side of things and just some of the stuff fascinated me. And at the time, it was a lot about like sports agents, like you're going to represent somebody and do all this like that's what it was kind of in. But when I got into it, I really liked like the law side of it. I liked the practicality side of it. I really liked the nuts and bolts of sports management. I was like, whoa, this is super cool. And then I realized if you pair like your love for teaching and coaching with like all that other stuff, that's how I became a good operator. So I was able to pair both of those interests. And this story I think is one of my favorites is I got out of teaching. We had moved back from Maryland after my husband, like the whole coaching staff got fired at UMBC. We're living in a college dorm at Harcum College while he's like an assistant there. I'm coaching Harcum College volleyball and also at Holy Family University. And I'm literally like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, this is ridiculous. I have a master's degree. I'm like long-term subbing. And I'm like, I have to figure this out. So I went to where I was doing lessons at Ambler Sports Academy. And I said, I had done my internship there for my master's. I was like, hey, can I just make this a job? And the co-owners were like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be a GM here. Like, I think I can like grow this. And they're like, let us think about that. I was like, okay. So they came back and they're like, you're going to have to do X, Y, Z. And I said, okay. So I did it. I did more. I did it. I did more. And like that whole job was based around like you eat what you kill, right? So like if I didn't do something, there was no cash. It's a small business, right? So like they can't pay you unless someone did something to pay for said service, right? So I really learned about you have to fill your space. You have to fill your programs. You have to drive. You have to be creative. You have to be able to pivot, all of the stuff. So while I'm, learning that, I had that like educational background, but I really could put that into practice and it grew. And that was what ultimately helped us be able to get acquired by EL1 Sports. So that growth there. And then again, while I was there, I did really well. So overseeing 2 buildings and then being able to move into the national director of Quickball and then all the stuff. So the idea there for me was just about, again, I understood how to run programs, the curriculum side, how to run good programs, how to find good coaches. And then I understood the nuts and bolts, logistics, money, P&Ls, and all of that. So I was just able to put that all together and move it forward.
So it all sounds very smooth, but I can only imagine because you said it yourself, entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. What about some times where you kind of questioned it all, or there were massive hurdles, whether mental, emotional, or actual systemic issues, and what that experience is like and what you do to get through that. That way it may be helpful to somebody else who's kind of going through the same thing, regardless if they're in youth sports management or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I think particularly in a service-based industry, but because that's really what I'm in with the team business. But anything really is that you're going to have to be able to handle a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts and a lot of, right. And so there are some really bad days where, you're just fielding a lot of feedback and some of it's not great. And some of it is, we fucked up, like straight up. It's like, man, I really shit the bed there. You know what I mean? And you got to sit there and just look at them and say like, I'm sorry. You have to be able to like get there and be like, I messed up. I'm sorry. Right. And if you can really own it and mean it and be genuine about it, people are like, oh, okay. Okay. Like, wow, this is a human experience and we're going through this in real time. And sometimes like you have to stand your ground. So sometimes you're getting that feedback and it's like, no, like we're not budging on this. And so it's being able to handle like the adversity of it over and over and over again, but understand like there will be the light of day if you stay the course, right? And the moment that you feel like, God, I can't do this anymore. And I think, there was about a year, maybe 2 years ago with Boilermakers, where I just remember sitting there and thinking to myself, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's not worth it. Like, I just don't want to do this. Like, it's too much pressure. It's too much of all of it. Like I had gone through like a turnover of coaches just because they were moving on with their life. And, there was just some things with how we were going to move the program forward and kind of an identity crisis of who we wanted to be as Boilermakers. And I'm just like, God, like, I don't think I can go through this, and everything that had, behind the scenes happened to there. And I was just like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then, I sat there and I went back in like old photo albums of when we first started. And I just started like clicking through the pictures. And I was like, God, like, I remember that. Like, that was really cool. And like, gosh, I remember when we started this with Cassie and Alexis, like, man, that was super fun. And like, I looked at the kids and I was like, God, like, we made a difference for that kid. And we did this and we did this. And I just had to remind myself of like, listen, like, this is not perfect. You're never going to be perfect, but there's a lot of good that you're doing right now.
Mhm.
And you have to believe in that. And if you believe in that enough, then you got to put your big girl pants on and find a way to keep doing it. And if you're not in it for that, then get out. And I talked to my husband, I was like, this is what I want to do. And he's like, okay, like, then do it, And so I think you have those moments of like a crack, that once it gets to a fracture, and I would call that, like, I got to a fracture, and I was like, I can't feel like I can put these pieces together. But you can go back to moments and remind yourself of like, hey, these are some really cool things, or hey, like, there was that other time where we wanted to fold and we didn't, and this is what we did to do it, right? A lot of times I call a mentor and I'm like, listen, like, I'm going through this, and like, I don't know what ends up right now, but like, what do you think? And I want you to be honest with me, right? And sometimes it's like, listen, there was not a whole lot you could do about it, or this, or like, whatever. And so I think getting feedback from people that care about you and want to see you do well and will give you honest things about those situations, that's really cool. So you need people in your corner.
Mhm.
And then you need to just, sometimes it's just pushing through it. Like there's just those times where it's easier to fold, and don't let yourself do that. So I know there's a lot of like little nuggets in there, but it's different for everybody, right? And how we react to those things. So everybody will handle it differently. But, I would say, if you feel like you have no purpose in it anymore, it's time to get out. That's it. Like, if you don't have a true why, then you have to go. And you got to pivot or figure something else out. But that would be my like main thing. Like, if you can't figure out why you're doing it, then don't do it. Yeah.
I'm like going back to, like, you said something like your business was having like an identity crisis.
Yeah.
So it was stemming from, like, you said coaches were moving on, and then like, how did you pull the identity back in? Was it just slowing down and just reminding yourself this is why, like reminding yourself of your why?
Yeah. I tried to scale too fast. So
Gotcha.
I didn't recognize at the time that, I thought I really had it figured out, and like, now we're ready to go, right? And so I stretched us too far. And I didn't have the proper things set in place to really help us if something went wrong, right? Like, we were good when we're good, but like when that one thing, like a coach got sick, or, we lost a couple players, or the things that really are the industry standard in this. And I was just like, we're good, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh God, like, and then those things got worse and worse and worse. Right. And so, and particularly in the team side of things, like once you mess up, to a certain extent, like, people are gone, like they won't give you a second chance. And so there were some big things that happened, and it was just, again, coaching turnovers, trying to like piece things together. And people are like, listen, we're paying a top dollar for this program. We're putting a lot of time, a lot of our resources, money into this. And like, the value's not there right now for a variety of reasons. So like, and there's plenty of other things out there that we could go to and get the value that you say you're going to be. Right. And so it was like, oh boy. And they were right. Like, at the end of the day, I really had to look in the mirror and be like, God, like, they were right. And that was really hard. And I think that was the part where I felt like I let people down. And I did. I let them down. I lost sight of the reason why I started at the beginning. And like, those were my failures. Like, and I had to really evaluate, like, hey, if you want to be who you say you are, then you better be that. And so that it was that moment. Right. And then it was like, well, maybe I just hide away and everyone forgets about this. And, no one will ever, will just disappear into the moonlight. Right. And I don't have to deal with this. And that was an option, of course. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided no. So I pulled back. I got back to like the premise and the roots of what made us who we were to begin with. And I was like, listen, we got to live and die on this sword. And so I pulled down to a certain amount of teams. I brought in better coaches. I started mentoring my coaches a little bit more, keeping the reins and touches on things that I sort of thought, oh, we're good here. And we weren't. So I went back and said, okay, like, what do I need touches on? Where do I need to pull the levers? Where do I need to add the value that I missed on, and make sure that we're doing those all the time very well? And we started to do that again. And then this year was another good year for us. And we were able to attract another team and get a lot of really great families into the org, and just a bunch of different things. So I think, that was my like, oh crap moment for me. Yeah.
I wish that more people knew like how much work and like is going in between, what you're doing. Like, oh, like, I wish that families like, oh, you're not giving what you like are promised. You're just kind of like, I'm working so hard here. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I hope that you've had people that been with you from the beginning that are like riding with you to the end, and then
Yeah.
as you grow, it's going to be like the OGs.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, and I should say this too. I think like leadership and also entrepreneurship can be very lonely, right? Because of these things. And you have to be able to like, I guess I make entrepreneurship sound terrible here, but no, like for example, this year, I've coached a long time here, but in my own org, but like for some of the girls that are graduating this year, I've had them since they were 12 or 11.
Yeah.
And like these families are an extension of my family. Like they were there when I first got pregnant with my first kid, right? I have 3 kids. So like they've been through all that with me, and they're like, you shouldn't be coaching, you're 9 months pregnant. I'm like, let's go, but it's just that. And then to watch those girls go through being 11 and then continuing to play softball and love softball. And now, some of them will go and play college ball, which is really great. And some of them just want to play in high school, which is also really great, but we've been able to be a part of their journey, which is super cool. So that to me is everything. So yes, we have some OG families that have been through all of that and decided to stay regardless of some of the mistakes that I had made and the missteps. And they're like, no, you know what? You always figure it out. So I was glad that they wanted to figure it out with me. Right. And I am so grateful for them, everyone that's ever been in my program, but particularly for the people that were like, okay, you're not perfect and we're okay with that. Yeah.
Like it must feel really amazing. Yeah. Like when you get a student that's graduating that like gets a scholarship or like something for the sport. And you're like, this is why I was doing this. Mm-hmm. And like, they made it because of me, they made it. Yeah. So I love that. I also want to know, I haven't stopped thinking about this since the beginning of this, we started, when you were talking about, oh, there's like old men in the dugouts with women. All I could think of was Tom Hanks in League of Their Own.
Yeah.
That was my only thing. I'm like, oh, like Tom Hanks League of Their Own.
But the fatter, older version.
Yeah.
Angrier, whiter.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there are a ton of really great male coaches out there. So that is not to dismiss. I mean, growing up, my first female coach was college, right? So, and I adore like the men coach, at least in softball side. Volleyball, I had coaches, but that also is changing, which is super cool. We see more female coaches that we coach against. Like it's changing, which is cool. So anyway, I don't want to like negate. There are very, very many super great guy coaches out there that do a wonderful job. However, like there's work to be done there. So like, let's see if we can continue to diversify the experience.
There's nothing better than girl power.
Yeah.
Nothing better than like a woman-run organization, women coaches.
Why do you think I'm putting a woman in charge of my agency? Starting as this episode's dropping, Amanda, you're in charge now. No, boys are stupid.
They're not stupid, but they are hard to deal with. So
that's what my wife says, but boys are stupid.
No, boys aren't stupid. Boys drool. Girls rule.
That's right. There we go. That's it right there. You hit the nail on the head.
The other one? Girls go to Mars to be superstars.
I don't think I remember that one.
Stupider.
There you go.
Yeah,
there it is.
All right. So what is your advice for anyone who is looking to turn a passion into a business? Are you saying go? Like, what can you give to someone that's going to be watching? What's the best advice you received that you want to share?
Yeah. Like you said, it was an accident. And I think like I had a lot of cross-pollination that sort of was able to give me that epiphany of like, I would say if it's your passion, chase what you're good at within that passion. So if you like certain thing, like find what you're good at, because that will drive the business. And then you can change the things that you like once you have like the base of it. So I think, to your point earlier about a hobby, I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to turn my hobby into like, this $1 million thing. And like, I do think that's unrealistic. So I think it's the idea of, well, what part of this hobby are you good at? Can you actually make a business of this? Right. And if you can, go for it. And if not, like maybe there's something else that you're good at that kind of lends itself to that hobby that you would want to do as well. Like there's a lot of transferable skills that we don't always think of. And so I think it's like, again, this is like a roundabout answer here, but I think, yeah, some people are fortunate enough to be able to have a hobby they can turn into a business. and other people can take what they like about their hobby and use their transferable skills and come up with something different, right? That is impactful as well. So I think it's those two things, because if you try to drive a business out of a hobby that can't necessarily get there, then you're going to end up hating something you love, and then it's not going to work anyway. So I think those are some things to consider when you're considering doing that.
I mean, that lines up exactly with Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, which is the required reading for all entrepreneurs, because in order to build and scale a business, you can't be in the weeds doing the technical work. You have to be working on instead of working in the business.
Yeah.
I grow cucumbers and make pickles every summer, right? And people are like, "Oh, this is great. You used to sell these." I'm like, "Yeah, if I wanted to make $2 an hour, sure." Like, I'm trying to build this real estate business and this marketing agency, but yeah, let me fuck around with these pickles. Good idea.
Yeah. And listen though, like, again, to that point, there's like the 1% of the 1% that are like, "Yeah, let me do it," and all of a sudden they're out there like pickling it up. Like, I don't know, right? So it's not to say that it can't be done, of course. It's just also to say, and I think something else, that I've learned is like sometimes, our passions supersede our logic. And so like when you have to make a really hard decision because you love something so much, you might not make the overall best decision for the business, right? And those are two different things. And so passion's important, right? Like you gotta want to do it and you want to get in there and roll your sleeves up. And then also you have to be able to have those moments of clarity where it's like, okay, this is the best business decision, even though maybe I don't love it for this moment, but it's what has to happen. And so again, I think for entrepreneurs with their hobby, because they love it so much, right? It's their baby. Sometimes maybe they'll get themselves into trouble with those tough decisions that they have to make for the business.
Yeah. Put on the passion blinders. Yeah. So
we're all guilty of it. Guilty. So yeah.
Oh yeah, all of us. But when you recognize it and can at least mitigate and navigate through it, then that's the difference maker. Are we allowed to tease your upcoming podcast?
Yes, we can. We can tease that for sure. So hey, I decided I would start a podcast because I think it's important for the youth sports ecosystem, as we talked about briefly. But again, there's a lot of different facets in there, but I think it's important to bring perspective and light to all of them. So you can agree to disagree at the end, but I think what's lacking is different perspectives and different stories where people can go, "Oh, they weren't actually the bad guy. I didn't realize that." Or like, "Wow, that was really insightful. Like maybe I can take that into, what I'm doing with my child in the sport." Or, "Hey, to your point, like I didn't know that I could be in the business of youth sports." Or so maybe I am really good at these things and I'm an accountant that, played a high level soccer. Like maybe I want to help support the back end of my local and I didn't know I could do that. Right. So like, I think all of these things and just bringing it forward and creating and kind of cut to the chase on some of the topics that are kind of, tough to digest. I think, for example, like private equity and youth sports right now is like the big thing, and like NILs and all these things. So I think kind of uncovering some truths about those and myths, and then also say like, what do we really think of this? Right. So evaluate and let the people decide. So yeah, that's what I'm getting into. I've recorded a couple episodes with some pretty cool guests. So I'm hoping to get that off in early winter. It was a little postponed, but we're getting there. So, again, entrepreneur Chris, sometimes you just gotta like figure it out.
What's the show and where do we find it?
So it's The Sideline Truth. And
I love that name.
Thank you.
Love it.
And it will be on all major streaming platforms. And we have a website, which we started as well. It's just a landing page, and you can subscribe to the email list. And also, if you'd like to be a guest, we're always looking for people to come on and share their perspective. So sign up.
Link will be in the description here.
Awesome.
All right. Are we ending on our note that we always? You're gonna be good at this because you're an athlete.
Yeah.
So we end each episode with something we like to call a leg raise. Why we do it, no one knows.
Nobody knows.
But will we continue to do it? We will.
Okay. I don't know if I can get my leg up there.
Yeah.
You're doing your best, and some days it's a mess, but you're showing up still, so we're very impressed. Feeling the pressure, yeah, we relate. It's okay to not be okay. Minding our business, let's talk it out. Jess and Jonesy know what it's all about.